SFED stands for Students for Education and Economic Development, and our program is to grow the next generation of farmers. And the SEED program originated in Chicago in 1987 when Bill Wilson was killed. Reverend Bevel initiated this program to provide education and economic development as an alternative to the selling of drugs. And then, of course, we went to the Million Man March called by our Honorable Minister. And at the Million Man March, we took pledges. And part of these pledges was to strive to build businesses, houses, hospitals, factories, and enter into international trade for the good of ourselves, our families, and our people. And so we came to Chicago and we organized a truce between the BDs on the 119th and the BDs on the 111th, the Black Disciples. And we put a challenge before them that they could make more money with us selling greens than they could selling green on the corner. And so they accepted our challenge. And we had a farm out in Pembroke, Illinois. The first time that I was able to purchase a farm without money or credit, Reverend Bevel told us, he said, look, your integrity is your money. And we went out there and we told the farmers what we wanted to do. They had land, we utilized it. And that first year we did 20 acres. And we didn't have any money, but we were able to go around to farmers and seed houses, and when we showed them what we were doing, they gave us what we needed. Got the tractor. Then we set up on 111th in Michigan, a farmer's market. This was Seaway National Bank. They let us use their lot for free to do our market. And we opened Young Savers accounts for all the children from the produce that we sold. We did encounter some vicious problems in Chicago. The police began busting the brothers that were selling the greens. We were on 111th in Michigan. They passed 2 dope spots on 111th in Ed Brook, 112th in Ed Brook, and the Host Stroll on 111th to bother these children while they were out selling watermelons and greens. They put pressure on the bank to kick us off the lot, or they were going to block their annexation until the next lot. So this was 2002, and we were running this concurrent with our murder project. So the vision of SEED was, it was established to offer programs in areas of education and economic development. Our goal is to teach children how to research, develop, produce, and market agriculture and industrial products. If a girl cannot research, develop, produce, and market agricultural and industrial products, when she shows up to the market, the only thing she can put on it is herself. That is the root of prostitution. She will always be dependent in that manner if she cannot research, develop, produce, and market agriculture and industrial product. Same with the boys, this is how we become slaves. The vision of SEED was to advance scientific education of children at the public policy level so that all children have a right to education. It leaves us economically independent and institutionally sovereign. Our programs are the Farm School, our Apprenticeship program, our Metro Markets, our Farm to School program, and our current project is the Tuskegee Food Security Initiative. Now, in reference to the Food Security Initiative, this is a chart that shows you where the money in the Farm Bill goes. 84% of the money goes to food stamps. Now, at the Farmers Conference this year, the Southern Federation of Land Cooperatives, their attorneys came out and they announced that we were facing 2 cuts. If the Republicans had their way, $16.5 billion would be cut from the food stamp program, meaning that every family in America on food stamps would lose $100 a month off their food stamps. If the Democrats had their way, they would cut, I think, $2 billion, and that meant, $6 billion, and that meant 2 million families would lose $100 a month off their food stamps. Now, I know none of you good people on them, but if you know anybody that is on food stamps, by week 3, you at 0. All your food stamps get spent. If you cut $100 off the food stamps and you're not making it now, you pushing the people into criminal behavior. Because when she cry, you gotta go get it. Now, one of the things that we pointed out to the farmers at the conference who were arguing over whether the Democrat or the Republican was right, if every family in America loses $100 off their food stamps, that's terrible. But if 2 million families lose it, that means $200 million a month is leaving the community. Now that money is spent. That is not to help useless eaters. That goes right to the small grocery stores, small grocery markets. So Walmart would be fine, but Piggly Wiggly, Kroger, Calhoun's, all them, they're shut down. So essentially what you had is people saying, well, these people said drop us off a plane, they are enemy, but these people say push us off a building, they are friend. You know, and that's the argument that they were having. But since we knew that the food stamp situation was going to get like that, we had to come up with a way to feed our people through the crashing of this system and the pulling away of the food stamps. Because as you go on, with $200 million a month draining out the community, things gonna get worse and worse. So we came up with the Tuskegee Food Security Initiative. We had to map this out because they had two arguments going on, I think, between the World Food Summit and the World Health Organization. One was arguing that food security was a global issue. The other one was saying that food security is a national issue, but it's neither. Food security is a local issue because you can't secure my food from Australia and ain't nobody thinking about us in DC. They are not discussing how to feed Negroes in Tuskegee. So it has to be a local initiative. And food security exists when you have seed sovereignty and a seed bank, when you have local growers growing sustainably, when you have agribusiness, when you have a distribution network, when you have food processing and storage, when you have the preparation of new farmers, when you have food management for families, that's how to eat to live, when you have food hygiene, when you have crisis planning, when you have agricultural land trust. And so we took the opportunity that was available to address all of these things. Now, you spoke last night to food deserts, and most of Macon County and Tuskegee, this area, are food deserts. Now, there is a perverted argument being made by the RAND Corporation, the weapons manufacturer, that food deserts is not a correct term. So in other words, they're saying, well, look, we did the research and we found that if you put a Whole Foods in the middle of the ghetto, Shanique was still going to buy her baby Flaming Hots. So you should not waste your time putting Whole Foods in the ghettos. You should give that money to us. So we had to take a holistic approach to addressing the food desert. And of course, you spoke to Monsanto. This university knows a little bit about biotechnology. And so we found that the key to the elimination of food deserts is coordinating with parents, students, farmers, and community institutions. And you can't do it loosely. You have to grab them into it. And so we can hold right there. We started building biointensive mini farms. Some of you had the opportunity to visit the farm that I had in Utah, an experiment station that was behind my house. In that experiment station, we used a method called biointensive farming. It's all hand, no machines. You double dig your beds, I triple dig my beds. You add your compost, you mix your compost the correct way. I grew okra 17 feet tall. My okra could have been entered into the Guinness Book of World Records, but at the time we just had a lot going on. I had the application, just didn't do it, but we do have pictures. It was so tall, you had to bend it over and pick it. I fed my whole block with okra and the cows. And the space that I used was 5 by 5. It was a 5 foot by 5 foot space. That you can fit 25 okra plants in that space, and they will grow up prolifically. We also, from that same space, developed a new squash. We were able to successfully cross a butternut and a spaghetti squash. The Lord blessed us with it. The conditions had to be perfect for that cross to occur. The University, I believe, of Colorado had been trying for several years, couldn't do it. We started vertical gardening with our children. They just started popping out. And so, as we were teaching the children food security, we took a handful of those seeds, threw them in our compost pile, and we pulled 50 squash And I'm sorry, my compost pile was 5 by 6. It was a 5-foot space, 6-foot space. We pulled 50 squash out between March and I believe June, and we pulled another 50 out between June and October, which gave us 100 squash. One squash feeds my family a week because I was averaging 10 pounds on them. So I had a 2-year supply of squash from a 5 by 6 space. When we got married, we fed our wedding party from our garden. When we had a harvest festival, the program, and I'm going to explain the program in 1 second, became so prolific that all of the people in the state, of which you'll see a video of one, came to my backyard to look in my garden. They went across the street. Sister Erica and I were able to build a 200 fruit tree orchard with no money. We were able to plant 6 acres with no money. We took 40 low income, high risk, and special needs children, and we taught them how to research, develop, produce, and market agriculture products. We have an ABC curriculum, which is agronomy, biology, chemistry, diet, and entomology. We had them from preschool up to 18. They stuck with us so tight that when the summer ended, they would come and do this during the year. And they kept a fall garden going. Then Alabama allows an extended season. They planted through the winter. They planted Brussels sprouts. They planted broccoli. They did plant collard greens. We down south. We working with them. But we took these children, and let me tell you, I'm gonna say that because we got pictures of it. Our program culminated in us opening 40 Young Savers bank accounts. The banks was beating down our doors for these children. They all want a footprint in the black community. There is none. Even, it used to be popular to have Young Savers accounts, but right now, nobody have money for Young Savers accounts. And if you open it with $1, nobody is putting in it. But our children, we had them out there selling their vegetables. So they had money to put in it. So the banks began coming to our classes to teach financial literacy to our children, because they discovered that they have over a 90% lifetime retention rate when you teach children banking from the institution that they're banking at. So they wanted to know if they could give a donation. I told them, no, you need to make an investment, and we're going to talk real money. And so the program was going so well that the pastor on the land that we were on, he got confused about, you know, what's yours, what's mine, and what's ours. And so we had to pack up our program and move it down the road. We had a bumper crop of sweet potatoes. They were organic. The University of Auburn gave them to us. We were the only people in that area that had a bumper crop because of the drought. But let me tell you, when you have 40 children who know they're making money, they go out and water each plant individually. They don't need rain, and they don't need irrigation. They made it happen. I had my children out in the field from 7 in the morning. Not out in the field in my program, it was 7 to 4, but they would go out in that field from 7 to 10 every morning. Even on the days when the temperature was raising up to 106, these children went in the field. They came out before it got too crazy. And from 10 to 11, we had intense character development using the 8 steps of atonement process. From 11 to 12, they ate lunch at the local school. From 12 to 3, we broke them up to middle school, elementary school, middle school, and high school, and that's where they did their ABC curriculum at. 2 times a week, we had business class where they learned that business is base, equipment, and supplies, pay your labor, expand, and improve and expand. And that's what these children began doing. It's a little out of order, but that's okay. The Tuskegee Food Security Initiative is what we're here to discuss with you today. We took this initiative to the local school board, and we asked them for 3 schools to run a pilot project teaching or demonstrating how you could establish food security for your whole community using a high school, a middle school, and a grade school. They liked the program so much, they asked us back the next day. They had all of the administrators in the room, and I ran through the program again. they asked us to pick up the entire school district. They said you can't leave these schools out in the rural areas. We taught them about the fall of America. They say we want to get in here. That was Mrs. Brooks, or Dr. Brooks that you met last night with the other board members. The Food Security Project works like this. You take a high school, a middle school, and a grade school. You establish a biointensive mini farm on their campus. A biointensive mini farm is a 1 acre farm. But in 1 acre, you can fit 400 beds. You're going to make them 4 by 25. You're going to hand double dig these beds, which are compost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. With this 400 bed farm, you're going to split your harvest 3 ways. You're going to take the first third and you're going to establish a food bank at the local schools. When that Tuscaloosa tornado hit us, it tore up everything. And when we went out the next day and the people were just walking around in the daze. And I realized that they were walking around in the daze because they had nowhere to go. The homes were destroyed, the cars had trees on them, and the roads were blocked. So they normally take everybody to the school. So the people went to the school, but they didn't have nothing to eat. They had to wait for the roads to be cleared. The schools, the public schools, are normally used as a shelter during disasters. So you should have a food bank at the school so that people in the shelter don't have to wait for it to be brought out. It should be right there where they can eat it. And then you rotate it out. When it gets old, before it gets too old, you rotate the children, take food home, and we redo the food bank. The second third of the harvest goes for their marketing. It's my helper here, make sure everything's straight. It goes for their marketing. Now, a lot of people chase Walmart. You heard them talking last night, Whole Foods, et cetera, et cetera. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea even to be necessarily shipping food here and there. I understand people like it. My school district has 2,800 students. That's 2,800 meals per day. The Department of Defense pays for the school lunches. So you can take an organic product that you have problems selling in the hood and have the Department of Defense pay for it for the children to eat. So you're still feeding your people. You sell it straight to the schools. Then the children are eating the food they make. So we have problem students. Greg, raise your hand. This is Greg Ruffin. He was an apprentice in our program. He worked with us on Bishop Edwards Farm. We had a young man who used to cut himself, you know, and he was a behavior problem. But with our character development process. And then when the young man realized he was a producer. See, you can take Tyrone and he a problem because he's been told all week that he ain't just like his no good daddy. But when Tyrone walk in the lunchroom and you eating his broccoli, right? Then he can go online. He can go online and check his bank account. You can't tell Tyrone he ain't nothing no more. Then when you give Tyrone the opportunity, now that's the marketing. The third portion of this harvest, we set up what's called dinner and a movie night. Dinner and a movie night is where the children host the local community at the local school cafeteria to come in and have dinner that they prepare from their garden. Now, what this has to do with the food desert situation, see, it's a holistic response. The reason why Shaniqua buy Flaming Hots instead of Brussels sprouts, because she don't know what Brussels sprouts is.
That's right.
She don't know what an eggplant is. And if you told her that, all she would know, that's a Brussels sprout, that's the eggplant. She wouldn't know how to cook it. And if she knew how to cook it, she'd then have to taste it. And that becomes a problem because if I'm a mother with limited resources, I ain't got time to experiment with Brussels sprouts and eggplant, and I ain't got time, even if I'm a working woman. And let me say this. Some of our most intelligent, prolific doctors up here are overweight because they don't have time to cook, or so they think. So they eat at the restaurant, and they blow up. You know, I've seen them where they don't do no whole bunch of overeating, but it's the wrong food. Even when it sounds like the right food, it's the wrong food. So what we said and what we did we started having harvest festivals, inviting the community out. And the response was so great, with people coming out and eating what our children prepared. So this week we might have Ethiopian night, and they learn how to prepare their eggplants and their collard greens Ethiopian style. Next week, if we were doing eggplant again, we would have Italian night. We theme it out Italian. We may show a short film dealing with Italy, so the children are getting their culture in. We took them to the Small Business Association building, and they taught etiquette so that the children would begin to become refined, you know. So the dinner and the movie night caught on, you know, when we were doing this in Utah. When we offered it to the school system, there was an aspect that we didn't realize at first. Because we said, well, look, you have dinner and a movie night. The children will prepare the food. The parents will come to the cafeteria. Everybody eat for free. It'd be a real nice community project. But when they had us pick up the entire district, then that meant we were 6 nights a week now looking at dinner and a movie night. So your school system becomes a de facto soup kitchen. So then during your collapse, your people are coming to the schools and they are eating at the local schools in their local communities prepared by the children. So now your children are growing up feeding their community and being responsible, being producers. They have to learn that we have to be responsible for us. If they want justice, be the source of justice. If you want food, grow it. So that's where we go with these children. This is, again, just an overview. We act as a liaison between the child nutrition program coordinators and the local farmers. During this process, what I've been explaining to you is our farm school program, where we take children K through 12, and we teach them how to research, develop, produce, and market agricultural products. The response we got was so wonderful that 18 and up began asking us, can we get with you? At the time, I talked to Dr. Ridgely, and Dr. Ridgely invited us to Savior's Day, and we had an opportunity to do a presentation at Savior's Day with Gary Grant, and the believers began signing up for our program. And this is Brother Martin Muhammad. He was one of our believers that signed up for the program. He went through our course, and I'm going to let him tell you what he's done. I ain't leave Martin alone. He'd tell you what he did. But it was phenomenal. Part of our curriculum options, we have a book called How to Behave So That Your Children Will Too. And it has a chart on how you have to show how you're going to improve your relationship with your children. We ran the brother through the curriculum. He wrote a letter to the court. The judge cried as he turned them back over to us. And he had just put 2 people in jail before that. After I left Savior's Day, I went down to the Black Belt Economic County Commission or what have you, and I made the presentation for them. These were upper-level government officials for the state, state reps, mayors, et cetera, and I ran a program to them. And I told them to give me your men that's in prison. I told them that Muhammad makes men. If you give us your men, your trash, we'll give you back men that will make contributions to the society. They wanted to know how many I could take and when I could take them. So they're not scared of us in that manner. Some are, but they want us to take our people if we are ready to take our people. And so we're ready. We ready. Give them here to us. Yes, ma'am. So this was our farm school program, just an overview curriculum, project-based curriculum, meaning that the children actually work and learn by working. Junior Master Gardeners course, they all become certified Junior Master Gardeners with the state. My wife's certified to certify. We have a strong character development program. Our character development program is really what makes it. It distinguishes it from anything else. You send me the ones you don't want, just send them here. We got you. Hands-on farming and gardening, arts and crafts, business and marketing. We took field trips. Now, are the field trips on here? Okay. We brought in guest speakers from around the world. We did financial literacy, and of course we opened up bank accounts. So let me say the children raised all the money for these kind of programs for themselves because we didn't have any. And we didn't take the money from their harvest. That's their money. So they made this money They took field trips. They came to Tuskegee. That's one of the ways we're able to establish a relationship with Tuskegee early. We took them to Auburn. We took them to the different farms. Yes, ma'am. And these are our children. She's testing her soil. She's testing her soil. She's going to tell you what the pH value is of that soil and what you can grow in that soil. It's hot outside, but she ain't tripping. She got her little handhold called a cobra head, and she is making sure she gonna have something to take to the market because she like her paper. This is us in my backyard agriculture experiment station, and we were teaching the children how to harvest seeds. So part of our program is you have to have a seed bank. We know we're at war with Monsanto. So these children, I mean, one plant, one fruit will give you enough seed to plant your garden. These children, we've had just a whole area just for harvesting their seeds. And they created a seed bank for themselves, which makes their program self-perpetuating. And these are the children learning how to cook. You know, many of them did not know how to cook. But when you begin teaching children how to cook, then that frees the parent up too. See, because then when they at home, you know, and you thinking you have to run home for work or they cook their own food and cook you dinner too. And we had the children doing that. They like to do that. The children have to feel like they're part of the family because they bear the family's problems and burdens. So give them the opportunity to fight for themselves. Every child you know got money problems at home. If you give them the opportunity to make money to address their own problems, you got them. And you got to be able to compete with the dope man. I don't call programs that say summer enrichment if the children broke when they start and they broke when they end. That's not summer enrichment. You playing with people. This child here, this is a girl, one of our top bug catchers. They began catching bugs for entomology, and then they had to put them in they had little cages and jars. Then we had books. They had to find these bugs and identify them. And it was important because they're growing with no pesticides, no herbicides. So they had to learn to grow around insects' life cycles. They had to learn to grow plants that repelled other plants. They had to start learning about the companion plants and relationships. So if you plant tomatoes, plant basil with them. That's going to help them grow. You know, so they had to learn all these relationships. And these are our children. Bonnie Plant Farm, we started a relationship with them. We used to be able to drive up on their warehouse and load up and drive off with not a problem. They changed administrations, so we had to get our donations just right, but they liked the program, so they give us donations and they would repot their stuff. The year that we did this, these children planted 4,000 tomato plants. They planted 4,000 pepper plants. They planted 12,000 sweet potato plants by hand. This is what children should do during the summer. Don't be scared that you're going to hurt them. No. And then when they know they're making money, try to keep them out the field. You will find them outside watching. Just when it's going to grow. They want to see this thing blossom. The children learned how to make a rudimentary plow. Sister Erica has wonderful curriculums. Now, this is our trip to Auburn and to Jimmy Durbin Farms. Jimmy Durbin is a millionaire peach farmer, among other things. He has 500 acres of peach trees. When he saw our children and saw what they were doing, Mr. Durbin cried. And Mr. Durbin matched us for every box that our children brought. Mr. Durbin gave them a box of peaches. And we set up farmer markets, roadside stands, from Demopolis all the way to Tuscaloosa. And we kept it going. They credited us with reversing the food desert. This was with just these children here. You know, low income, high risk, special need, grew up in the apostolic church, wasn't doing nothing particularly. And this was the effect that they had in our program. And this is them doing some harvesting. You can just click through. And we also taught them how to construct mini hoop houses so that they can extend their growing spaces. One of the beautiful byproducts of this program is that the children began building gardens behind their homes. So they would come home from our farm school and go build gardens in their backyards. Then some of the children wasn't into growing fruit, vegetables, and et cetera, so they started doing flower gardens and landscaping the front of the houses. In one season, the whole block transformed. When you drove down the street, they do it for the old ladies, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it was beautiful. All my girls got to know how to work power tools. They got to know how to work power tools because they cannot be, you know. Yeah. Yes, sir. And this is some of the arts and crafts that Sister Erica put together. They learned their arts and their colors and everything, all in relationship to the program that they were doing, which makes it easier. They retain it. Now up here, they actually created a value-added product. They wanted to know what to do with all the herbs we were growing, and we didn't have any presses to make oils. So they made bath salts. They took baking soda, Epsom salt, and the herbs and mixed them and sold them at the farmer's market for $1 a piece and really did well. You know, you'd be surprised. This is one of their business marketing classes. The children had to learn how to negotiate with one another to create a product. So one had orange juice, the other had oranges, this one had marmalade. They made commercials. They had a blast. In our program with the schools, one of the advantages you have when you have entire schools involved is you can do international trade, or you can teach international trade by having the students trade their products. So you can purposely not grow something that you need for your dinner and the movie night in order to make their dinner happen. They have to negotiate with 2 or 3 other schools to make it happen. And I think that that will help prepare them for the global market that's waiting for them. And she was a caterpillar, y'all. Now she a butterfly. And that was their program. But man, listen, your children are precious.
That's right.
Your children are precious, and they're beautiful, and they love farming. That's right. They love to grow. They love it. If you just give them half of a chance, you won't be able to pull them out the fields because they making their money and they enjoying themselves. Look, this is manure tea. That is a little girl in a dress without gloves on. She is pouring manure tea, and you can't stop her. She makes manure tea because when she poured the manure tea on the plants, they grow faster. So don't bother her. Let her do what she's doing. See how he way over here? Don't bother her while she pouring her manure tea. That's leave alone. Now the universities all get fascinated, and they all come out and they lend a hand. You can always count on the professors to come and lend a hand. They want to be involved with the children, but don't necessarily know how or have the platform to get involved with the children. When you present a platform over the summer, when they're free, they will come out and they will teach your children. I mean, I got to tell y'all this. There's a doctor, I was hoping he was going to be here tonight. I think he had a class today. And we were talking about our program and how we had separated biology, chemistry, etc. He got excited. He's a soil scientist. He says, see, the approach to the sciences, to the medicine and all these other sciences is all wrong. These are integrative sciences. And he started explaining how they use new methodology to test the soil. So it used to be you take the water, put it in a slide, and he found out that they were killing 99% of the microbes that were in the soil. When they started using DNA methods to extract the soil, to do the soil testing, they found the other 99% of the microbes. So it made everything we knew or thought we knew obsolete. And so they are now here in Tuskegee sending samples around the world trying to map and trace and figure out what these microbes are and what they do. Right. And so they're starting to figure them out now. And Sister Erica was saying, well, look, why don't we just dress the children up like various microbes and then show them how to relate to each other, to teach them this science. And I mean, they were at it. They were at it. It's a little beyond me, but they were at it. And it works. Go ahead. And so these are our children creating value-added products. In our program, the children always have to save food. They have to learn how to jar, can, and preserve. And they got excited. We were just starting. We had so many jars because cucumbers they're so prolific. They were making pickles. They wanted to make the Black Belt Pickle Company. And so they were working on their little labels and everything before we left. But it just showed me what was possible. And so that's our children dealing with their banking. You know, they're very happy when they have money. Now, I want you to, this girl is in a wheelchair. She was our second highest grossing student, little Kathleen Walker. She made, and you wouldn't be surprised, a little girl in a wheelchair can make money. And she knew how to work it. She tell other children, take the product, she just hang a sign up, put a cup out, say donations, 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 and she funded their field trips. These girls, this is how my girls get their bands. They wrap their little hundreds up, they got their big smiles. This is the manager of the bank. They have a relationship. After 3 years, you have children with a relationship with bankers, store managers, the community. They all in the same business. They got a bank account with money in it and the world in front of them. You setting them up to be successful. Now, another part of our program that we started was what we call our neighborhood route. And we're still trying to get our little red wagons. But you let these children take their product for door to door, particularly in the elderly communities. See, because when Tyrone walk up to, Miss Bankhead's door, and she won't talk to him unless he pull up his pants. He want the money, he gonna pull up his pants. Right. He gonna, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Because he is trying to sell Miss Bankhead some organic tomatoes at a better price than she could buy the corrupted ones at the local grocery store. And so that works really well. This is Malcolm Speller. You might remember him from the Final Call days. He, old school Chicago. He is part of Brothers Without Borders. He travels around the world. He's a food engineer. And he came to our program. He stayed with me 3 or 4 days, and he taught class. And the children loved it. Now they know that besides being a farmer in agriculture, you can also be a food engineer. And there's a wide variety of things, but we don't want them to get too far from the soil. Yes, ma'am. And that's them. They took a field trip to the University of West Alabama greenhouse. We take them to all the universities. This is my favorite. It is beyond compare. This is them learning how to prune. This is Ron Sparks. Many people from Alabama may know Ron. He's the Director of Rural Development. He is the former Agriculture Commissioner. Do you have that? Video. Yes, ma'am. Just let you hear what he adopted our program.
You know, what's more important than our children understanding about agriculture and having to till the land and understanding how to grow safe food? That's what the SEED program is all about, teaching young men and women how to produce food and understand the importance of our land. You know, we can do without a car, we can do without a new boat, or we might even do without a new suit of clothes. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got to eat. And that's exactly what we're teaching the young people in this community. So I want to say I'm extremely proud of the SEED program and what they're doing and producing young men and women that will be a part of Alabama in the future.
Now, it carries a lot of weight. And the students receive their certificates from Tuskegee University Extension Office for food and health. This is them at one of their harvest festivals cooking food grown from the crops they made. This is them at the farmers market. They began supplying the local grocery stores. They supplied local restaurants. We called it Fresh Daily. Went 2-3 times a week. They had a presence at all of the farmers markets. We went to Greensboro. We went to Tuscaloosa. We were in Demopolis, and we're in Sumter County. So we had the whole little circle. Many days, these were the only farmers at the market because the drought took everybody else out. So these children, I mean, they had okra when ain't nobody else in the county have okra because they went with their little manure team and watered them one by one because there were 40 of them. They got a lot of energy. This is their trip that they funded themselves to Tuskegee University. This is them learning how to make bicycles out of bamboo in Greensboro. So then we came up with our apprenticeship program. And I'm not going to make this too long, but all of the basis of our apprenticeship program is I ran one of the farmers markets in Utah. And while I was there, I noticed that all the farmers coming in were 70 and up. They would start at 7, farmers market over by 8. Because at 70, these gentlemen, he's 80-something, could only pick so much, you know, because of the spoil, et cetera, et cetera. So we got guys like Martin and Greg and others and taught them how to farm and then dropped them off with these farmers. And they helped these farmers to increase their production, and in turn, these farmers gave them old school knowledge. This brother here is farming his grandfather's land. He's 75, Mr. Billy Turner. He fell in love with Martin. And Billy Turner could stand in the field and tell you the pH value by what he sees growing. He can tell you, just what, oh yeah, that over there, or see that land over there, that's dense, or such and such is growing there. I mean, just master scientists. Yes, ma'am. And this is us doing our thing. This is my backyard experiment station. It's a ton of stuff growing there. I mean, we would go out and pick dinner, you know, and really didn't have to go to the store for much more than certain seasonings, etc. Everything, basically, we vegetarian, come right from my backyard, including oregano and rosemary and etc., etc. Our apprenticeship program, when we started doing it, the thing that really blew it open was when Brother Martin came down, and we had an FOI in the program. And he understood what he was doing with these farmers. And so he started linking these farmers up, and they started thinking. And we were saying, well, look, I ain't charged nobody no tuition with these programs. They saw the children making money. I didn't charge the children tuition. The farmers received help. We didn't charge the farmers for no help. So the farmer starts telling Martin, well, look, brother, I got some land over here that I ain't using. You know, you help me. Now you going over there because you got a wife and children, and you set you a farm up over there. You take my land over here and set your stuff up. There's a new way to approach agricultural land trusts. When they trust you, you can work the land. And so we learned how to work the USDA system. So you can get a well, a hoop house, just irrigation, high tunnel hoop house, all these things they will give you because they need organic farmers. You sign up, you can get up to $20,000 a year. Okay, well, say Brother Ridgely has 40 acres. 4 brothers can set up on 10 acres apiece and get $80,000 in a year and get permanent practices installed on their land. So if you can do that, you can do an 11-year contract with Brother Ridgely and say, listen, I'm going to put 20 grand a year in your land for development that's just sitting there, and I'm going to grow this out. You hook up your contract where you got the right of first refusal, whatever. These are things you work out. But I'm saying just some of what is possible. And so Brother Minister Desmond in Montgomery, we had Reverend Boone out from the Civil Rights Movement. And he came out when we were doing our door-to-door piece, when we followed you out into the streets. And he came out with us. And we were going through the projects, and people said, that's Reverend Boone. I remember you marched with King. Reverend Boone also got land. And he know a whole bunch of people who got land that is just sitting there. There's work that can be done on that land. See, the problem be everybody come in and want to take their land. Yeah, well, we'll hook up the deal, and at the end of the deal, I hold your land. No, I don't want to take your land, brother. You keep your land. I hope you buy some more. I want to work your land. We got young men who ain't got jobs, who need jobs. But we have an apprenticeship program to teach these young men how to work that land. Yes, ma'am. Me and Greg learned how to make fertilizer with eggshells. we made our own fertilizers. We took fish guts from the catfish ponds, and we mixed it with molasses, Epsom salt, and we took like sawdust and leaves to hold it together and let that stuff marinate. Listen, the plants were trying to get away from it. That's why they grew up so tall. And it grew through a drought. It grew through a drought. And that's us. Some of the, we always took trips to the different hydroponic farms and just to see the different kinds of setups, see what's possible. And that's our young man who we grabbed out of the prison. They're picking crook neck and straight neck squash. This was one of our fields. We had an orchard over here, and then behind this barn we had another 6 acres that the children had planted. So we tried to keep things compartmentalized. And that's me digging up sweet potatoes with one of these old-fashioned plows. We just wanted to see what it do. This is a brother, Willie Horn, old follower of the messenger. He got a closed, sustainable system off in the cut. He growing pigeons for his meat, et cetera, et cetera. And, you know, our apprentices helped him, you know, build his fence. And this is us. One of the ways that we learned to sustain ourselves, we had to do fundraisers. So we would go and buy flowers wholesale, we pot them up, and we go out to the local Walmarts or whatever. You can contract with them. They'll let you go. They give you, like, I think a Friday and a Saturday. You stand out there, tell them about your program, and sell flowers. Or when we have whatever product we have that week. But we always like to have a product out there. Some people just stand out with cups and ask for donations. We ain't about that. We got off into landscaping, and we started landscaping around Utah. And so that's one of the brothers whose mom had passed in our program, 17-year-old brother named Justice, wants to be a FOI. We did a series of these, just a little circular landscaping flower beds for different people in the communities. That's them getting their master gardener certificates. So they're certified by the state. Then we had the metro markets. Small farmers a lot of times don't have time to set up markets. So we assist them with their local markets. Doc Hines was 86. He wasn't going to harvest this. He left this in the field to die. We brought each of these plants for him for $1, sold them to the restaurants for $3. Everybody made money. And that's them making one of their deliveries. And Doc Hines said, you know, I was going to retire. He said, I'm coming back next year. And I had many farmers that told us that. And that's one of our roadside stands. They got turnip greens with the knuckle on them, as they say, and the sweet potatoes. And this grocery store liked our produce. This is our organic broccoli. That's Naeem when he was itty bitty. They liked us so much they put a label on our stuff when we would bring it in, so people would know that this was seed product. And we had quite a following in Tuscaloosa. And it has been necessary for the Negro to learn the difference between being worked and working. To learn that being worked meant degradation, while working means civilization. That all forms of labor are honorable, and all forms of idleness disgraceful. It has been necessary for him to learn that all races that have got up upon their feet have done so largely by laying an economic foundation, and in general by beginning in the proper cultivation and ownership of the soil. And so that's our brother. We also have with us today Bishop McDuffie. I thought I said Bishop Frank McDuffie. Bishop McDuffie is the headmaster of the Laurinburg Institute. I invited him here because his grandfather was on the board of Tuskegee for Booker T. Washington. Dr. Washington trained his grandfather and his grandmother in a normal school, and they walked from Tuskegee to Laurinburg, North Carolina. They set up a school there and began teaching. Grandfather passed, it passed on to Bishop McDuffie's father. During the time of Brown versus the Board of Education, the people came in and said, well, you know what? We'll take over educating Negroes from now on. It's now our job, so we need your school. And of course, Mr. McDuffie told him to go fly a kite. On the way out, one of the students heard the rep, a state rep, say, well, that's okay, we'll just zone this place for demolition. the students told the father they took that school apart brick by brick and walked it down the road into the next district and rebuilt where the school sits today. Now they became known. They became known for their basketball program, and they produced some greats. Dizzy Gillespie was there, but their basketball program became really prolific. We have a lot of people, a lot of young men who may not have graduated high school, who need a place to get their GEDs, who need a place to begin getting up to snuff for secondary education. This brother got dorms for, I think, 120 students, 60 acres of land, land fallow, and just school buildings, just waiting. So I'm with rebuilding our desolate places. I got a program, and we got men.
Erica, to all of you who are present, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I don't need a mic.
Yes,
We're recording.
Oh, okay, well, you put the mic here then.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to say to Brother Scott, I was so inspired by what I heard and what I saw. And I see that God has prepared in Brother Scott and his wife and those with him an answer to problems in the inner cities, and not only in the inner cities, but everywhere I've gone in the world. What you have done with seed can be multiplied 100 times, 1,000 times, and we have to help seed be a national and international entity, because what you've done, you have proved the wisdom of James Bevel and the wisdom of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And this is the way that Reverend Bevel lives. And his contribution to the rise of our people will etch his name forever in the history of our development. And the last thing I wanted to say, you know, I'm sitting listening, and I was so inspired by what I heard. The thought came to me of what the Holy Quran teaches of what a messenger is to do. See, the messenger is only responsible to deliver the message. Once the message is delivered, the people have a responsibility to act on that message, and the fruit of that message will become a reality. And what I'm seeing here this morning is people responding to the message in the way we should respond. And the words of my brother and great teacher here, we should learn the difference between being worked and working. And so I want to thank you, brother, from the depth of our heart for allowing us the privilege of hearing what seed represents. And I'm sure working with Dr. Ridgely and these young people, this can be done all over America, and the inner cities will thrive. And so I thank you. Yes?
They have allowed us to keep the classroom and then move the class to another room. So,
Oh, wow. Well, we thank them. I saw in what I heard this morning the answer to the problems that we face in the inner cities and the problems that we found in the Caribbean, where this young man said he when he put his hands in the soil, it did something to your mind.
Yes.
And because we come from the soil, or I should say our bodies are made from the soil, but our essence comes from only God. And when these two hook up, spirit and flesh, in a righteous manner, the result is solution to problems. So whatever we can do as the nation of Islam to encourage your work, it will be the fruition of the vision of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I pray that you will continue and grow, and whatever we can do to facilitate that growth, we want to absolutely back you in what you're doing. Now, to Brother Bishop, is Bishop your name or is it a title?
Actually, it's a nickname. My name is Frank, but if you came to Laurinburg and said, we're looking for Frank, they'd say he passed, I'm a junior. So Bishop is what I became.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed hearing you and how this area is really an incubator for national and international development. We came through the Caribbean, and I was talking to prime ministers, heads of government, and everywhere we went, the words of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad came back to me. He said, brother, Allah has gone in front of you and made friends for you all the way around the earth. And I wondered what he meant by that. Because why would I need friends? I thought that the friends that Allah would make, he would make them for my teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But everywhere we went this time, I met premiers, prime ministers, heads of banks. All of them heard the word from my teachings over these 57 years of my preaching. And now this is Prime Minister so-and-so. This is the head of the opposition. All of them had experienced the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad from our lips. And now I introduce them to Will Allen and growing power. But you have an element to that that takes it a step beyond. And, you know, Will is really a great, great agricultural giant. And for me, that giant needs to have this kind of hooking up with other giants. And in you, Brother Scott, I met another giant. And you know, thank you, son, I understand. The scripture says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And for me, I add a few words to that. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall seek God everywhere they look. And I saw and heard God this morning in my brother and his presentation. And it's our ability to recognize God in each other that makes us work closely together for the common good. Let me close with this. When you think of a messenger delivering a message, It is like God raising a cloud. He uses the sun and the moon to draw the water up from the earth's surface, and it forms clouds. And then with the winds, he blows the cloud, as the Quran teaches, over a dry, dead earth. And when the cloud gets heavy with water, it comes back to the earth depending on the current of air that the cloud is in. If it's in a warm current, it comes back as rain. If it's in a cold current, then it comes back as snow or ice or hail. So when a messenger of God spreads water, water never alters what it touches. It only brings out what is in. And so that's why a messenger of God is so important to any process, because the messenger spreads the message, and the message is water, and each human being is a seed. And in that seed is what God has deposited in the breast of every human being of himself. And he has never created a human being in which he did not place himself. Not one. So the whole secret of life is how the water is spread, and the warmth of the sun and the fertility of the earth causes the seed to swell and burst and send a root down, then a shoot up, and then you're able to recognize what was in that seed, because all seeds seem to look similar, but the seed in a seed state cannot glorify God. But it's putting the seed in the right earth under the right circumstances that brings out what is within. And that's why a messenger of God is the most important act that God could do in raising a people. That's the point I'm getting at. And this is why the Jews have been so powerful, because God sent them prophet after prophet after prophet, and no one can deny that they have profited from exercising the good of what the prophets taught. They just used it in a way that exploited the ignorance of others rather than sharing the richness of what God gave them. And this is the value of Reverend Bevel. This is the value of anyone whom God has blessed with knowledge, that you share what God has blessed you with like a messenger. And what I saw and heard this morning was a perfect representation of water falling on good soil. And it brought out a Scott Muhammad. Reverend Bevel used to always talk about how a man and a woman, they work together for that glory of doing God's will. And you and your wife have proved that point. And what you grew in your garden, and what you've done with young people, that proves the point that farming is the essence of all labor. It starts from our relationship with the earth. So I want to thank you again for allowing me this privilege to have these few words. Thank you very much.